So Blake Lively has accused her director and co-star of It Ends With Us, the film that came out earlier this year in August. She's accused the director and co-star Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment. And then on top of that, she's also claiming he attempted to mount a very well-coordinated smear campaign against her. The complaint from Lively says, quote, or I think Lively specifically said, quote, "I hope that my legal action helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct and helps protect others who may be targeted," end quote. Brian Freeman, the lawyer for Baldoni and his production company Wayfarer Studios, of course, clapped back saying, quote, "It is shameful that Miss Lively and her representatives would make such serious and categorically false accusations against Mr. Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and its representatives. As yet another desperate attempt to fix, quote unquote, her negative reputation, which was garnered from her own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film, interviews and press activities that were observed publicly in real time and unedited, which allowed for the internet to generate their own views and opinions," end quote. So let's dial the clock back for a second. So here's the context. So Lively, again, earlier this year starred in the adaptation of the very popular book, It Ends With Us. Kind of a problematic book from my understanding, but it's basically a story that explores domestic violence and emotional abuse. And she starred in the movie with the director, Justin Baldoni, as and they're like together in a relationship in the story. And we've been hearing about tensions from this production between her and Baldoni, and that kind of like leaked to the public earlier this year. So earlier this year, like about a year ago almost now, January, everyone met, Lively and her representatives, Baldoni's his representatives, Sony, which is the distributor of the film, all met to address Lively's concerns, of which she had many, including, but presumably not limited to, but these are all the ones I could find, these accusations against Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios included Baldoni discussing her weight with her trainer, which if what they were saying is true, supposedly it was because he has a back problem and he had to lift her in a scene. He didn't want to hurt himself. I have back problems, so I can empathize, but maybe that's not the full truth. But in any case, that's one of the accusations. Another one, he would press her to disclose her religious beliefs, which is strange. He would talk about his sex life in inappropriate ways and discussed his pornography, his prior pornography addiction. He claimed he could communicate with the dead, including her recently deceased father, which is like uncomfortable. In addition to not just him, but also the CEO of Wayfarer Studios, Jamie Heath, he showed her a video of his wife naked and giving birth, which is inappropriate for the workplace. Because people often forget, like a film production, yeah, we're making art. It's a workplace, right? Imagine doing any of this stuff at your workplace, in your office with somebody. Right? That's insane. And then also both men allegedly would enter her makeup trailer without her permission, quote, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child, end quote. So, a lot of not very good stuff happening. Not necessarily illegal, but very inappropriate and should not be happening, especially in the workplace. And the complaint reads, quote, regarding this meeting, the quote, "The concerns Lively raised were not only for herself, but for the other female cast and crew, some of whom had also spoken up," end quote. So it seems like Lively was not the only person that was experiencing this kind of uncomfortable environment. And one of the things that she demanded was obviously stopping all this, but also demanding that Baldoni not add any more sex scenes than what she had already agreed to based off of the original script, right? I guess he kept wanting to add scenes that, she found gratuitous or unnecessary. Again, just weird behavior. That being said, again, the distributor Sony played referee. They agreed to the terms, but Baldoni allegedly, and alleged in big quotes because it's kind of more or less confirmed, began a campaign, a PR campaign, a very covert PR campaign to destroy Lively's reputation. And the complaint, and this is like the big bombshell part, the complaint includes text messages and emails from Baldoni and his publicity team. And the complaint says, quote, "Mr. Baldoni and his Wayfarer associates embarked on a sophisticated press and digital plan in retaliation for Miss Lively exercising her legally protected right to speak up about their misconduct on the set, with the additional objective of intimidating her and anyone else from revealing in public what actually occurred." And that they, end quote. And the complaint also alleges that they retained subcontractors who, quote, weaponized a digital army around the country from New York to Los Angeles to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums, end quote. The New York Times, you can find my source in the description if you're watching this as like a separate video. The New York Times published a great breakdown of the concentrated effort to discredit her in the court of public opinion. They worked with a PR person, Melissa Nathan, who, famously also helped Johnny Depp kind of use PR against Amber Heard during their defamation trial, and he ended up winning that trial, unfortunately. During this whole process, I don't want to go through every example this New York Times article does. I really recommend you read it because it's so fascinating. But again, this complaint includes email and text exchanges. So we have a text from Melissa Nathan talking to, I think her name was Jennifer Abel, someone like a PR person at Wayfarer Studios. That was kind of like the go-between. Melissa Nathan said in a text, quote, "All press is so overwhelming. We've confused people so much. Mixed messaging. It's actually really funny if you think about it," end quote. That's just awful. In Hollywood, here's the thing about this whole situation. Hollywood doesn't care. Hollywood only cares about money. But this is going to cost a lot, this whole thing, right? The film was made only for about $25 million, but it was a huge financial success. It made $350+ million at the worldwide box office. So huge percent return. I think it was coming out when I've been doing this YouTube channel. I would talk about it, the huge percent return. And there is a sequel book. So it would, in any other circumstance, you would be like, well, let's adapt the sequel book. Let's make a sequel to this movie. But this is going to be unlikely because of this drama, right? And even if they somehow wrote Baldoni out of it, the Hollywood Reporter notes that Wayfarer Studios owns the rights to the sequel. So, they would still have to work with Baldoni on some level unless he sold the rights. So here's the thing about this whole situation, right? Is that, again, Hollywood cares about money. So you have situations like this with men trying to discredit women. But then you have a business surrounding it, like that scaffolds around institutional misogyny that benefits from that. It's a business that exists to spread misinformation and quote unquote bury women, which is one of the verbs that they used in these text exchanges. These businesses that exist to bury women speaking out. Again, like Melissa Nathan is a woman, right? You would think that there'd be a little more solidarity there. But again, money talks in Hollywood. Again, women helped Baldoni, women helped people like Johnny Depp. This is not a men versus women thing. This is about power and powerlessness. Though again, I don't want to overstate it because of course Blake Lively is very wealthy and very powerful, but at least just in terms of the ratios, right? And again, we got another quote here from Melissa Nathan in these unearthed messages, and she says, quote, "And socials are really, really ramping up in his favor. She must be furious. It's actually sad because it just shows you have people really want to hate on women," end quote. So they're very aware of it. It's almost like if this was a movie and this was written as the text, I would complain to the screenwriter this is a little on the nose. They're fully aware of people's implicit bias against women, and they're using that. So I think the biggest lesson here, aside from people shouldn't do the stuff Justin Baldoni did, is PR campaigns work, right? And I, people fall for this kind of stuff, and I include myself in this. So if you look on my channel, I did a video about how Blake Lively was kind of getting into some hot water about how she was kind of handling the press tour for It Ends With Us, kind of being a little insensitive about, considering the film is about domestic violence and emotional abuse. It's come out in documents that this was a concerted effort to make the film more empowering rather than a story about domestic violence and abuse. I stand by my statements that I think maybe it's a little tone deaf the way she was going about it, and the way she had talked to that interviewer from a couple years back was kind of rude. But all that being said, I said in that video, to be fair to myself, I did say, now we don't have the full story, so I'm just going off the info I have. But I talked about, like, contrast that with Justin Baldoni, who's like using the press tour to talk about these issues and talk about domestic violence. As it's been revealed in these messages, that was a concerted effort to explicitly draw a contrast between him and Blake Lively. So, I include myself in this group that was duped. Again, I'd like to think I was coming at it from good faith, and I couched a lot of what I said was, well, this is based off the info we have. But in any case, it kind of is scary because you kind of take a step back and go, okay, we only found out the real truth because of these like leaked messages. What else could we be wrong about? What celebrity situations do you know about that you only know so much, so you've drawn certain conclusions based off of incomplete or false information, right? And I guess I'll leave you with this question is, what does this say about me, about men, and about society? I don't know if I have the answers. I like to say what it say about me is just, I'm not paid to do this, and I don't have enough time to like thoroughly report these stories. I did the best I could with the information I had, but I think it does say something about society, like Melissa Nathan said in her message, that it's sad to see because it shows just how much people want to hate women. Women still have a long way to go. Men don't want to face the consequences for their actions, and because of that, they rarely do. They work really hard to avoid that. And the hashtag Me Too movement has kind of fizzled out. You have pariahs returning, someone like a Louis C.K., but then you also have people not even becoming pariahs in the first place, like someone like Johnny Depp winning a defamation suit against Amber Heard, right? Though in this particular case, it seems to be very quick consequences for Baldoni. He was dropped by WME, the talent agency that repped him. Everybody involved with the film of If It Ends With Us has come out and supported Blake Lively. I guess Baldoni has a podcast he does with another woman, and the woman has like basically left the podcast or like put it on hold. Like the consequences for Baldoni is very swift. So I don't know if that's a sea change or sometimes corrupt systems need to sacrifice someone so the public feels like the situation has been resolved, whereas in actuality it's a systemic issue. But it looks like Baldoni is facing is facing the consequences of these actions very, very quickly. It seemed like it's like a dam. He was able to successfully kind of hold back the river, and now it's just everywhere. So I apologize to Blake Lively. I think everything I said, most of what I said in my other video, I stand by, and everything I was wrong about, I said in good faith. But I think it does speak to. It's hard to know what's true because there's always three sides to the story. His side, her side, and the truth. Wow, what an interesting story. I'm sure you have some thoughts about the topic, so comment below, let me know what you think. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really, really helps people find the channel and makes me feel all warm inside. Until next time, I'm Peter Mancuso. Peace out.